Buenas tardes. That's all I can say. I apologize. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm delighted that you're here. I was recently traveling in the highlands of New Guinea, and I'm hoping... And I was in the back of a pickup truck with a lot of men, and one of them had 3 wives. And I asked him, how many wives would you like to have? And there was this long pause. And I thought he'd say 5. Would he say 10? Would he say 25? And he leaned toward me and he said, none. 86% of human cultures permit a man to have several wives. But in the vast majority of human cultures, only about 5 or 10% actually do have more than a few wives. In fact, only about 5 to 10% only have more than one wife. You got co-wives fight. They poison each other's children sometimes. You got to have a lot of cows, a lot of goats, a lot of land, a lot of money in order to have a harem. We are basically a pair bonding species. 97% of mammals do not pair up to rear their young. Human beings do. In fact, anthropologists now think that the evolution of human pair bonding, pairing up to rear your young, probably started over 4.4 million years ago. Monogamy, or mono meaning one, gamy meaning spouse, is natural. So is adultery. I've looked at adultery in 42 cultures around the world. You see it everywhere. But everywhere in the world, people love. They fall in love, they form attachments, they rear their children as a team. And with the evolution of pair bonding came the evolution of romance. Around the world, people love. They sing for love, they dance for love. They have poems and stories and novels and ballets and sitcoms and operas and plays about love. They have myths and legends about love. They have love charms and love magic and love potions and love holidays. We pine for love, we live for love, we kill for love, and we die for love. It's one of the most powerful brain systems the human animal has ever evolved. And by the way, men are just as romantic as women are. In my studies, I find that they are somewhat more romantic. Men fall in love faster than women do because they're so visual, and they fall in love more often than women do. Gays and straights are exactly the same. It's a basic brain system that we share as human beings. And I've come to believe that romantic love has a lot of different traits. We tend to fall in love with somebody. They suddenly become special. Everything about them is special. Their car they drive on is different from every other car in the parking lot. The house they live in, the music that they like, everything about them becomes special. You focus your attention on them, high energy, euphoria when things are going well, bodily reactions, butterflies in the stomach, a dry mouth when you talk to them, emotional dependence, mate guarding, you get possessive. But the 3 main characteristics are obsessive thinking. You can't stop thinking about this person. You crave emotional union. Sure, you'd like to go to bed with them, but what you really want them to do is to call, to write, to ask you out, to say that they love you. And most important is motivation. What people will do when they are in love is out of this world. And what they're trying to do is win life's greatest prize, which is a mating partner. So I began to think that romantic love was one of 3 different basic brain systems that evolved for mating and reproduction. The sex drive gets you out there looking for a whole range of partners. You know, you can have sex with somebody you're not in love with. Romantic love enables you to focus your mating energy on just one person at a time. And the 3rd brain system of attachment enables you to tolerate this person, stay with this person, stick with this person, at least long enough to raise a single child through infancy together. I generally talk a lot more about how these interact, but I just want to go on to say that I became convinced that all these 3 things were brain systems, and that if I looked in the brain, I might be able to find the brain circuitry for romantic love. So I started putting people in scanners. This was in the New Yorker magazine. You can't get two people in a scanner, but that was their idea of it. This is actually what our scanner looks like. And this is what I found. I had thought that romantic love was just a lot of cognitive thinking processes and a lot of emotions, which it is. But basically, it comes from primitive regions in the brain linked with drive, with craving, with focus, with motivation. And indeed, it lies right next to the brain regions for hunger and thirst. In fact, my brain scanning partner regards these as survival mechanisms. Hunger and thirst keep you alive today. Romantic love drives you to push your DNA on into tomorrow. The yellow dot is the sex drive coming out of the hypothalamus nearby. And indeed, feelings of deep attachment are all way below the cortex. So people keep asking me, can technology change love? Technology can never change romantic love. This is a brain system like the fear system. It's a brain system like thirst and hunger. It will never leave us. It's going to be with us if we survive as a species 1,000,000 years from now. What is changing is courtship. That's what's changing. As a matter of fact, everybody thinks that, if you sweep left or right on Tinder, romantic love is going to disappear. It can't disappear. And when you even think about technology today, it's nothing compared to the 1940s, when in fact we suddenly had automobiles. At that point, you suddenly had a rolling bedroom, for God's sakes. And in the 1970s, when we had the introduction of birth control, technology is always going to change how we court. But it cannot change love. It will be with us forever. So, why him? Why her? Why do you fall in love with one person rather than another? This is what Match.com, the internet dating site, came to me and asked me about actually 12 years ago. And so I began to wonder. When they asked me, I said, I don't know. There's all kinds of reasons that you are drawn to one person rather than another. Certainly, proximity and timing play a role. At my age, I would say lighting can be useful too. We tend to fall in love with somebody from the same socioeconomic background, the same level of intelligence, good looks and education. Our religious and our social values play a role. And indeed, our reproductive hopes will play a role. And your childhood always plays a role. But you can walk into a room, and everybody is from your background. Everybody in that room has the same general level of intelligence and good looks. And you don't fall in love with all of them. So I began to think, maybe we're naturally drawn. Maybe we have basic body chemistry can pull us naturally towards one person rather than another. People will say we had chemistry or we didn't have chemistry. What does that mean? So I began to look through all of the academic literature, looking for any trait at all in the brain linked with any biological system. Most of the systems in the brain keep the heart beating or the eyes blinking. They're not linked with any personality trait. But I ended up finding these 4 brain systems, and each one of them, dopamine, serotonin, testosterone, and estrogen, is linked with a constellation of personality traits. So what I decided I would do is make a questionnaire to see to what degree you express the traits in each one of these 4 brain systems. Put that questionnaire on a Match.com site called chemistry.com and see who responds in what way and who they're naturally drawn to. And this is what I found. 14 million people have now taken that questionnaire. About 30,000 take it every 2 or 3 weeks. And I'm able to watch who you are and who you choose to love. So these are the, I call them the explorer, the builder, the director, the negotiator. Not great terms, but what I've got. These are the academic terms on the right. And these are the traits, some of the traits linked with each one of these 4 brain systems. If you are very high on the dopamine system, you tend to be novelty-seeking, risk-taking, curious, creative, spontaneous, energetic, mentally flexible, and idea generation. In fact, if you give L-Dopa to a Parkinson's patient, their creativity will go up. Creativity is in the testosterone system in the brain. And these people are drawn to people like themselves. Curious, creative people want a partner like themselves. People who are very expressive of the serotonin system, they observe social norms. They are traditional. In fact, there's a gene in the serotonin system linked with social norm conformity. And that gene is most prevalent where in the world? Shout it out, anywhere. Where are people most conforming in the world? Japan and China. Good. They're cautious, not scared. They follow the rules, respect authority, like plans, rules, schedule. They like the familiar. They're detail-oriented. If you're talking with one of these people, give them the details. Not the big picture, give them the details. And last, they're religious. And loyalty is in this system. All the times I do the math, one of the questions I ask is, would you rather have loyal friends or interesting friends? These people cannot tolerate unloyal friends, and the other 3 types cannot tolerate uninteresting friends. They go for people like themselves. Traditional goes for traditional. In the other 2, they go for their opposite. People are very high on the testosterone scale. What's most interesting to me is dominance matching. They will attack, and they expect you to attack back. And if you don't, they'll think you're weak. The most interesting one for me is fairness. Fairness is in the testosterone system. What is fairness? But it's structural. It's and these people are very good at math, engineering, computers, music. They're systems thinkers. They're also emotionally contained, and they go for their opposite. People, high estrogen system. They tend to be long-term thinkers. I coined that term, web thinking. Very good executive social skills. They're good at reading posture, gesture, tone of voice, imaginative, intuitive. Trusting is the interesting one. It's interesting to me because anthropologists have not been able to explain why people are trusting. Because if you trust the wrong person, you got a problem. But these people can probably read other people so they can trust the right person. You can begin to see how a group of personality traits can evolve together. They're also seek meaning. Everything has meaning. Just the way he cuts the lemon at dinner tonight knows you're not having sex tonight. Everything has meaning. And they are interested in their opposite. Hillary Clinton, I think, is a good example of the high testosterone type. There's certainly more men in this category, but I thought it was very surprising. When asked why she was attracted to Bill, she said, he wasn't afraid of me. Now, I wouldn't have thought of that one myself. Oh, is this no good? Wait a minute. Oh, this? I will put this. Okay, I got a lot of things here. Oh, Lord. I don't know how to do all this. Oh, Lord. Sorry. There we got Bill. I think he's a very high estrogen guy. Whole world knows he can't stop talking. Emotionally expressive. He's the one that would cry at the daughter's wedding. He feels everybody's pain. A high estrogen guy. As a matter of fact, Americans have been wondering when we're going to have our first female president. I think we've had our first female president. We may get another, but I don't know. I think these 4 broad styles of thinking and behaving evolved millions of years ago, and we're going to continue to choose people according to the way the brain is built. So I want to close with where we're headed. We're headed in a lot of places, of course. I'm extremely optimistic about it, actually. But to sum up in one short thing, I think we're moving towards fast sex, slow love. In America, I do a study with Match.com called Singles in America. We don't study the matched population. It's a representative sample of Americans based on the US Census. And I find every single year I do this study, we study 5,000 people every year, I find over 50% of American singles have had a one-night stand, a friends with benefits, or lived together before marriage. Now, that's not just this past year, but over the course of their lives they've had this. Most people think this is reckless. I then stumbled on a statistic that made me realize it's not reckless, it's caution. People today are terrified of divorce. They are terrified of the economic, social, and personal problems with it. So I began to think that this is caution, that what we're really seeing is an extension of what I call the pre-commitment stage, a long period of before people marry. I think today people want to know every single thing about a partner before they wed. Where marriage used to be the beginning of a relationship, now it's the finale. And in fact, I thought to myself, well, you know, if there are all these long periods of time to get to know somebody, you can get rid of the relationships that don't work for you. So maybe we're going to see happier marriages because bad relationships can end before you tie the knot. So I did a study of almost 1,100 married couples, and I asked a lot of questions. But one of the questions was, would you remarry the person that you're currently married to? And 81% said yes. I think that we are moving towards a time of happier marriages. What's important to me is, sure, technology is helping people meet. Slow love is helping people get to know each other before they wed. But the real modern trend is not technology. It's not slow love. It's women moving into the job markets in cultures around the world. We are moving forward to the kinds of relationships we had 1,000,000 years ago. 1,000,000 years ago, women commuted to work together, their fruits and vegetables. They came home with 60 to 80% of the meal. The double-income family was the rule. It was not till death do us part. An enormous number of agrarian farming traditions are sliding away from us as I talk here today. We're moving forward to egalitarian relationships between men and women. That's the real news, not technology or even slow love. In fact, I've said it many times, but I think men and women are like 2 feet. We need each other to get ahead, and we are progressing towards that in this generation. So I'm going to close with this. Any prediction of the future must take into account the most important determinant of the future: mankind's unquenchable, adaptable, and primordial drive to love. Thank you.
Bravo. Felicidades. Thank you very much. Les voy a confesar que la conocí, I met Helen, I don't know, it was like 10 years ago or something like that. Y fui a su departamento a entrevistarla, la quería conocer. I remember, I think you will never forget. I went to her home in New York and I said, well, I don't know if I am a testosterone guy, a director, but please help me. Estamos en la mitad de la entrevista y en eso suena como que explotó una bomba. She lived next to the Freak Museum. Vivía cerca de un museo muy famoso y dije, ya, un acto terrorista. No, se me quemó y me explotó una bomba de la cámara de televisión. Le empecé a incendiar su sala. Bueno, de allí en adelante dijimos que whatever it comes, I love you. Thank you very much. Gracias. Un aplauso para ella.